Welcome, everybody, to Friday the 13th live stream. I'm your host, Joe from Price Tag Aquariums, and I'm happy to be here to spend some time with you guys. So welcome on in. Hello, Marie from work. Hello, Slim Tim. And hello, Henry. Thanks for coming in. Hopefully, everyone got to see that intro and all sounded great because I spent a lot of time on that. And I assure you, there were no fish purposely injured in the making of that intro, but I was very excited to show it. And it's a great day to start out the Halloween season. And I'm really looking forward to this year, hoping to visit some haunted houses, and should be fun. And Halloween's my favorite time of the year. It's my favorite holiday. So I just think that it's just fun to see all like the kids dress up and then going to haunted houses and then seeing all like the neighbors and stuff put everything up. And I don't know, it's just one of those things I've always enjoyed as a kid. So it even tops Christmas off. You know, Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. So what's up, Mr. Eduardo? And what's up? This is for everyone who doesn't know, my dad stopped in. So hopefully you guys all saw that too. So hello, Dad. I guess today's topic of the live stream is kind of related to the intro, but I want to actually more focus on stuff that you've learned from mistakes. So like if you had any fish deaths, you know, I don't really want to focus more on like obviously the death itself, but like it'd be nice to talk about some things that you've learned in the past and what you've actually be able to continue to do in the future, like now and in the future, that has helped you from past mistakes and that has never happened again. So I think that would be neat to share some experiences with that as well. So Marie says, hello, Mr. Price. George, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. What's going on? What's up, man? Jesse, you must be at work still, or unless you have the Friday off. But Eduardo looks like he's feeling better. So no work for you yet. But yeah, thanks all for coming in. I guess one thing that I've actually learned that's recent is whenever I'm getting new fish, and this is something that I've gotten from my South American and Central American tank that I just set up. One thing that I've learned, and so far I've had no mistakes on my quarantine tank, but one of the things that I forgot to check whenever going to my local fish store is ask them kind of what the pH is on their fish tanks. And I guess it just didn't dawn on me that whenever I go to like another one that's near Cleveland, it's called Aquatica Aquarium Gallery. Some of their African cichlid tanks, their pH is a little bit higher because they like prefer that. And some of them might have the RO system too, but like I didn't think about whenever I had Geophagus. This is one thing that I've learned from this tank, that when a couple of them died, Geophagus like a little bit softer pH, but I'm a person that will not try to chase pH because I just want them to get acclimated to what's already in the tank, because I know that if you adjust all those pH numbers, sometimes it can be stressful on the fish too. But the one thing that I've learned from having a couple of fish deaths and has been successful on the Geophagus red Tapajos, if that's how you pronounce it correctly. I think they have a new scientific name. I'd have to look it up on Imperial Tropicals. Is make sure to ask, if you're keeping fish for a long-term basis and they're really like a bucket list fish, it's not a bad idea to ask the fish store that you're getting them from what their pH is, because my pH water here at the house is actually like more closer to 8 already. So it's already a little bit more on the harder side. So if there's like a 7.4 to 7.6 pH and I'm shoving these fish that are like in a 8 to 8.2 range of, harder water, that could be a cause of, maybe stressing fish out for the first time, even when I'm putting them in a quarantine tank. So I kind of made sure that before putting my Geophagus Retahapos into my quarantine tank, to try to at least, kind of watch and see what type of pH is in there. So it's not so much of a harsh transition from like 7.4 to 7.6 to like 8.2, because I know that can be kind of make fish real sensitive and stuff. So that's something that I've learned with the quarantine tank, and I haven't had any of those die in there. And I'm eventually going to be putting them in here along with the other ones as well. So that's kind of something that I wanted to share with you guys that I've learned from. Slim Tim says swim bladder is his nightmare. From what I understand, I think that my one of my fire mouse has swim bladder because he just sits at the bottom of the tank. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him other than he can't swim somewhere, because he's always at the bottom and he eats and he swims around whenever you stick your hand in there, if you try to catch him with a net like that, just to make sure he's still active. But that's kind of one thing that I've kind of learned as well, that like I'm really not 100% sure how to solve that other than buying decorations for him to hide in. But like I'm trying to think in terms of, I've put aquarium salt in the tank, and I'm just trying to give him vitamins and stuff to keep an eye on him. But he's still alive. I mean, he still swims around the bottom and stuff, but he just doesn't have the energy to swim around inside the tank. And he wasn't this one, but he was always on the bottom somewhere. So he was never able to swim up to the top to get food, and then he was never getting food. So that's why I had to put him in one of my 10-gallon tanks to try to grow him up a little bit, to try to help him out, with feed him a lot of protein, a lot of good, North Fin foods, and keep him high quality diet and that sort of thing. So that's kind of my history on it. I'm hoping that he comes around. But if you guys have any helpful tips for swim bladder, that's the only things that I've been doing is dosing with aquarium salt whenever I do the water changes. I tried the salt bath, but it was kind of like one of those, like whenever I watched him, I had like a bubbler in there too, along with the salt bath for 30 minutes. I did that for a couple times, but it just didn't make much of a difference. So I decided to put him in a 10-gallon and just putting aquarium salt in there, keep the aeration on like a high level on my air valve adjustment. So he's been alive for several weeks in there. I'm hoping that he'll get some strength up. So we will see what happens. So I can definitely relate, Slim Tim, on your swim bladder nightmare. Seems like everyone's making sure that Eduardo's doing okay. So that's very nice of you guys to come in and make sure that he's feeling welcome and comfortable. So that's great to see in the chat. I appreciate it. So what is all your guys' plans for this Friday afternoon? You guys got the weekends planned out and everything. So hopefully you guys have a great weekend, and I hope that you guys had a great week, and that happy Friday the 13th. My mom's in here too. So and she says hi to Boo, which we call Alana. That's our daughter. We call her Alana Boo. So she's here to say hey. Yep, you're welcome. We want to make sure that this fish community and fish family all tries to support each other and make ourselves all feel good and welcome and try to help each other out. So you're quite welcome. And he says hi, Mom. So that's good to see my mom and dad in here, and everyone who stops in to say hi. I appreciate it. And Henry says we'll hopefully meet in person. Me and I was on hold on a second, guys. I forgot I had left my dehumidifier on, but anyways, I was on Happy Place Aquatics, Jim. I was on his live stream last night, and we've been trying to meet up as well. And it seems like every time that we come closer to the date of meeting up, it always seems like something comes up. I mean, life happens, so I mean, it is what it is. But we're still planning on figuring something out within the next month or so, because we were supposed to last weekend and not working out, long story short. And he's actually going to Canada to see Joey do a presentation up there. So we couldn't do anything this weekend because that's where he's going to be this weekend. So hopefully that goes well for him. I end up talking to Jim for probably about maybe almost 2 hours if you count the live stream plus the backstage, and we were hanging out and talking for a little bit. I mean, Jim's a good dude. If you guys aren't subscribed to Happy Place Aquatics with Jim, he's a really good dude. He does great with his content, and we're all like in the same boat of we're trying to get that full monetization. So him and we kind of started this YouTube community about the same time, and him and I met through Jesse's channel with Sailing Aquatics, and him and I roughly have around the same watch hours and the same amount of subscribers. So we are moving along swiftly with our channels and trying to get everything as close as we can to that full monetization. So if you guys haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do so as a little advertisement for me. And also some good news for me is, what's up, Swiffle? How's it going? Some good news for me is an announcement is I am now a Hygge affiliate. So, which is great because it'll help me promote my channel and also help with Hygge. They've come out with some really innovative stuff to keep up with the marketing of all the other companies. I'm going to be reviewing a new hang in the back filter soon. And it's pretty comparable to what's out there, like with the Aqua, was it not the Aqua Sky, the Aqua Clear hang on the backs that just came out. I haven't been able to snag one of those yet because they haven't been sold in any of my local fish stores or even like Petco or PetSmart, because I've been wanting to do one of those. But now that I've had this opportunity to be a Hygge affiliate, they have been kind enough to send me one of their filters to review. So I'm going to be doing that here in the next week or so, and then you guys will see that here soon. But I haven't gotten the filter yet, so I still got to get it and check it out and do a video for it. And then I eventually want to get one of those Aqua Clear filters and kind of do like a comparison, and see which one, maybe not necessarily which one I like better, but just kind of see how I feel between each one. And obviously I'm not going to get any sort of affiliate with the Aqua Clear, but I just want to buy one myself just to see how I feel between the two and how good they work. So I think that's pretty exciting news for me. Marie says hi. There's Henry says hi. So Marie, I hope you are being careful when you are driving home from work. So I appreciate you coming in and hanging out for a little bit. Seems like sometimes these afternoon live streams, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but whatever works out for you guys. Hopefully not hovering over the road, Marie. But yeah, I appreciate you coming in. And Swiffle says, hi, Henry, we'll see you next weekend. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this week and the weekend. I'm working this weekend. I start my night shifts tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday night. So this was on my time in my open window of me being able to do a live stream. So this is what worked for me. When I did a afternoon lunchtime live stream, I was eating shrimp, I think, at the time. But actually not being too bad. I think on my next live stream, I'd like to have a guest with me as well. So I haven't done that for some time. I've been riding solo for a while now. But if any time that I feel like I want to guest, feel free. If anyone in the chat wants to, they can come and hang out with me for a little bit. I don't have too much to talk about, but like my major announcements was kind of basically what I just said, is that the Hygge affiliate and stuff that I've learned from a mistake that I did when I first started this tank. Oh, and another thing is I ended up starting up a new 55-gallon, and I moved some tanks around here about a week or so ago. So that's been started up, and I still have yet to transfer some fish around and move some fish to their bigger grow-out tanks. So that's something I'll be doing here in the near future as well. And, of course, keep up on all your water changes and stuff. And I was thinking maybe on like another live, I might do like another, either a feeding of all my fish, and I'll probably do that like maybe on my phone so I can be more mobile when I'm moving from upstairs to downstairs, and I can kind of give you guys an update of how the fish are all doing and how big they've gotten too. But I think that would be something that I want to do because I've been doing a lot of these in front of my in-wall tank sets. I've been doing a lot of this, so I kind of need to switch it up a little bit. So and it's nice to have conversation, especially when I was on Jim's live yesterday. I think him and I are going to plan to do a live together at some point in the near future as well. Him and I were talking about that last night. So soon enough, it'll happen. So everyone's saying hi to Marie. So appreciate all that. Mom and Dad, are you making room for a fish tank over there? And Dad, are you going to Florida? You know, when is your you flying down south for the winter happening? And George says hello to Swiffle and my mom. And don't forget, you guys, to hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. I did something different on this live stream to where in order for you to be involved with the chat, you have to be subscribed for at least 5 minutes. So I'm hoping that'll kind of bring in a little bit more subscriptions onto my channel to help me get to that next level. So I'm planning to do that for the next few live streams. So hopefully that'll get a little bit more attention as well. George, how's your fish room going? From the videos and the things that I've been trying to catch up on, looks like it's going really smooth and you really haven't had anything major happen, which is fantastic. So it seems like from the things I've seen so far in your shorts, it seems like it's going really well. You got your sink set up and all your tanks, so it looks pretty good. I'm actually really happy with how things are going with your room. So that's really cool. Hey, I mean, I'd be more than happy to. I'll probably have to take care of it, especially in the wintertime for the most part. So we will have to organize something, you know, and go from there. But we can make something happen for sure. You know, I can always stop by sometime after work or something like that. You know, whenever I'm stopping by and visiting you guys for lunch or dinner or something, I could always check on things. You know, Swiffle, I was trying to remember your name. I know we had talked about in a live stream, and I do not have you on my list for names. But declutter. Yep, that's always something that's whenever even when I was moving my 40-gallon breeders and my 55 gallons, that was actually like half the process of moving things out of the way to move the tanks and then like maneuvering things back into position of where everything needed to go to accommodate all the different setups that I had. And then to get everything so I'm not tripping over something. So like clutter is kind of like one of those pet peeves of mine, George, because if I'm doing maintenance or if I'm doing live streams or if I'm coming here feeding the fish, I'm doing something else, like I gotta be able to have some walk space to be able to do what I want to do in case someone has a question. I can be like, oh yeah, hey, let me get up and show you, or hey, let me try to find this for you. So that way, like I'm kind of like I said, a little bit anal about it. So I get it. But yeah, we'll have to kind of like maybe look around your house and see where you think you'd want one. And then we'll see what we can do from there. You know, don't feel any pressure or anything, but I'd be more than happy to help you out and setting something up. Yeah, I have no problem with that, but they always say the bigger the tank, the better. It'll be easier to maintain as far as everything goes. But yeah, we'll see if we can figure some out in the future. Because I know, especially when you guys go to Florida, that I think that will probably be the most difficult thing about having a fish tank at my folks' house is because who's going to be able to feed your fish while you're gone? I think that would be the hardest thing for you guys. And if you just have one tank, it probably wouldn't be hard for finding someone near you to maybe feed the fish tank maybe once every couple of days or so. But we'll figure something out. Maybe we'll have a game plan going on. There's always something. So, yeah. So that'll be exciting. So what else do people have going on for this weekend? You know, was the week good? Do you guys have any weekend plans, any fish stuff going on, fish maintenance or anything like that? Let me know in the comments down below what your guys' weekend plans are. We just closed our pool, Mom and Dad, so they were actually here right before I got on this live stream, so it actually worked out pretty well. So they were actually putting the winter cover on as I was getting on this live stream, so they got everything done before I got on, which was convenient. So yeah, it's swimming season's over. Have you guys closed your pool yet, Mom and Dad? Yeah, Mom, there's these things they're called bala sharks. It was something that I looked into before I had my Frontosa 125 gallon tank set up, but I decided to not get them. And I think the bala sharks is something I would look into in the future if I decide to, because I was talking to Jim about this too a little bit, that if I were to ever stop the fry operation part and just go with big tanks only, I feel like that would be something that I would do. I would buy a bigger tank, get rid of all the smaller tanks, and probably have like the big fish, like let's say like the bala sharks and the stuff that get like 12 foot, give or take inches big, and just have your simple canister filters. Or maybe that's when I would do like a sump, a 40 gallon sump or something like that, and figure that all out, kind of like what Ben Ochart does. So, but that's always future planning. Yeah, and if you guys want to look into the membership too, that's up to you. Don't feel pressured. I do try to upload small things here and there, exclusive content that I would just kind of run around with my phone or my camera, no editing or nothing. So I try to do like a raw video sort of thing. I've released a couple shorts and a couple of videos about, updates and stuff. So, yeah, no pool. And all right, thanks, Wiffle. Appreciate it. I'll mark that on my list. Appreciate it. Got you down. Dennis looks like he's got angelfish. Yeah, Florida. When were you guys going to Florida then, Mom and Dad? Looks like your pool's not closed yet. Do you have a closing date for it, or do you guys close your own pool then? Because we have Northeastern pools close ours. Henry says, the weekend, nothing for me, but the following weekend I'm going to fish collecting down south of Florida. So that's where Florida comes in. Okay, I get it. So sweet. What fish are you looking at then? Is there anything in particular looking for, or something maybe like a fish rescue that you're just going to keep on hand and decide what you want to go to from there? Or how's that working out? George says, I need to finish install my air loop. Yeah, because that takes some time. Yeah, I know from my experience. Cut down my workshop table to maybe a 4 by 2 foot table and finish my last double stack rack. Sweet. Yeah, that definitely takes a lot of time and effort. But like I said, all the videos that I've seen so far, it's progressing well, and it's definitely an improvement. So, you got your 55 gallon low boy. I think it was a 55 you said. I'm hoping that that's all set up and finished and needs where it looks like in your last video or one of your latest videos, it was all done and set up and ready to go with your shellies in there, I think. Henry's coming to catch wild fish. So I think that would be kind of neat to do too. Like if you ever were interested in like going out and going to like a pond or like an abandoned pond, you see like goldfish, kind of like what KG Tropicals did, or if you even go to a lake or an abandoned area where no one lives or something that was just neglected, it'd be kind of neat to like pick up something that you'd be able to save, so that way those fish don't die, sort of thing. So I guess that kind of makes sense, when people want to do that. It's very neat for the fish hobbyists to do, and it's very thoughtful for them, and it's kind of neat to see that happen. Henry says he's looking for pipefish, mollies, crowfish, and other fish that I forget their names. It's really hard to remember all the scientific names too, of course, because like I said, the Geophagus red topos, they have a different scientific name now, and I think it's actually shortened a little bit. But it's hard to remember. I mean, even some of the fish that I have here in my fry tank, whenever I'm moving fish around so much, I tend to forget to label them. And I have everything on my app, but sometimes it's like, holy cow, what were these things again? I just call them either your generic name, but some of the scientific names are absolutely insane. It's even hard to pronounce. But yeah. 50 gallons. So I was close. No fish in yet. I want to be done with the other stuff first to be able to film the tank setup. That's perfect. Yep. A little bit at a time, my friend. A little bit at a time. That's all it takes. But in time, I mean, I'm hoping like on your next live stream, I know you've been really busy with setting everything up, that maybe I could come join in on one of your live streams whenever it's set up. So that way you can kind of give a rundown of how everything went, and kind of give like a end result of, well, this is what happened from start to finish. And, it kind of makes you feel like a little bit, kind of like a proud moment, I guess, per se, for lots of better terms. But it'd be kind of neat to, because that's what I did with my fish room, George, is like whenever I moved everything around and set everything up, set all the air loops around and stuff and all the different tanks and where they need to be, it's kind of like critiquing. That's like what Jesse was, trying to set everything up with his fish room in the garage. He has everything set up in his garage, but now he's kind of like still wanting to move things around, because after you set things up, you kind of think to yourself, well, maybe this is what my original plan was, but now let's move this over just a little bit so I have room to put, fish food at, or your medications, or your different materials that you use to do water changes and stuff. So that's kind of what I was doing, is after you got everything set up, you're like, well, now that this is here, I'd much rather this be over here. So that's kind of like an end result of kind of like, I'd be interested to see maybe one of your live streams next and talk to you about it for a little bit. So, but yeah, that's good. Dennis says they are doing great. No meds. It looks like they're talking about, I'm going to miss something on that one. Probably just some of the fish that you have that you're catching. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, I've heard of a 50-gallon low boy, but I've never seen one. And that's when George joined one of my live streams here recently. And he was able to kind of give me a little rundown, which was very nice of him. And it was neat to see, one of those low boys. And they're such an interesting tank. It's really neat because you can put those at an eye level sort of look to them. And I think it really gives them that perspective of like a real wide, sort of tank. And it's different from your normal size looking tanks. And I've really come to really like the look of those things, because you can put them like on a real big, like rack and stuff. And you can, I think if I were to get one of those at some point, it would have to be something that would be eye low, so you can walk all the way around it, sort of thing. So, he says, I need to create more room in my garage. My wife keeps boxing up stuff to put in the garage. Yeah, that's the joys of being a homeowner, is finding more room to put your stuff at. And then you get more stuff, and you got to find more room to put your stuff at. That's all a house is. A house is mainly just a place to put your stuff, other than your normal food, water, and everything else you need to survive. But essentially, if you think about it, a house is just something to put all your stuff in. And essentially, I'm keeping all my fish stuff in my fish room. So it's been a project, that's for sure, and it's still moving my project and everything's moving along nicely. So I haven't had anything major happen, knock on wood. I'll probably be getting some peacock and haps here in the near future, because I want to, because of my last ick that I had several months ago, I've lost like about 3 or 4 fish or so. So I want to kind of replace those. But since then, my fish have gotten quite a bit larger. So I really can't put any fish that's too small, because I've already had a bad experience, long story short, where I put a Siamese algae eater in there, or Chinese algae eater, one of the two. And I thought he was big enough for that tank to be able to kind of clean up some of like the brown algae and some of maybe like the little hair algae that was in there. But he ended up getting eaten. and I'm kind of embarrassed by that, because at the store, it looked like he was able to take care of it, but it ended up not being a good situation, because my biggest fish, the Venusis, I put him in the tank, and it seemed like he was okay. He was being chased around a little bit, but I didn't think of it as being a snack. Well, then I came by about an hour later, and half his body was in the Venusis mouth. So I'm just like, well, that didn't work out too well, did it? So Silva says my angel parents were attacked by babies like piranhas, wounds healed with no meds. I gotcha. Well, that's unfortunate. Sorry to hear about that, Dennis. All right, Marie. Be safe driving. Henry says he wants to get a low boy and make a mountain in the middle with a waterfall. I think it was at the what's that store called? They had one of those. It wasn't like a low boy, but it was kind of like a staggered tank to where it was like a smaller spot up top, and they had like a bigger one and then an even larger one. And it's a saltwater place. I cannot think of they just moved. It's called I'll try on the tip of my tongue, but it's a saltwater local fish store, and it was really neat how they had it set up because they had like a puffer fish around the outside. And it like the rest of the fish there was a smaller fish, but they had like little ins and outs that they could swim in and out of between each layer that was on there. So it almost looked like a cake, in a sense, and it was really neat to see like water like spill over on the sides to go to the next section, and then the next section would spill over to the bottom section. So I think that's kind of cool to see. Drew says, I never realized Christmas decoration breed. I swear we haven't bought any new decorations. But somehow every year there are more boxes than the previous year. It's funny how things turn up because you start to go through your storage stuff and then you're like, so what happens to me sometimes is I think that, we don't have something like this. And then we go buy something and then we come around and it turns out we actually did have that. Like maybe like something extra for the Christmas tree or something, that was, something to hang stuff up on. And then you realize, we did have this, the entire time. So I didn't need to spend that $50. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Sometimes Christmas decorations, as popular as that holiday is, like it's amazing to see like how much room you need for your stuff, especially when it comes to Christmas time. And then if you have kids, of course, and it's that much more room you need for your stuff, with kids and everything. Then you store them away. My wife and I guess I should say my wife more so because I need to go through some of my stuff. But long story short, she was going through some of her old clothes and some of Alana's clothes that, like after time, you start to realize like it's kind of like the Christmas stuff you're talking about. Like you don't realize like some of this stuff actually looks like the clothes are breeding because there's so much in there. And you're like, man, I haven't worn this stuff in years. Why is this still in here? So she went through a bunch of stuff and donated some, to the local donation place and ended up working out. But you don't realize how much that stuff kind of collects. So that is kind of funny. What's up, Garcia? Thank you for coming in and hanging out for a little bit. I appreciate it. Nice to see you in there. I haven't seen you in here in a while. So what's going on? Okay. Hey, Vibes. How's it going? Happy Friday. Vibes, if you haven't checked it out yet, check out the very beginning of this live stream. I did a special intro to a Friday the 13th, and I posted something on Facebook. I have yet to figure out how to live stream because I'm doing something on live stream for Facebook at the same time, but I have to figure out how to make it public. And whenever I have something scheduled, I can't change that public. It's for some reason it's still private, and I have to only by invite only on Facebook. So whenever I have something scheduled, I can't change that from private to public. But even though in StreamYard it shows on public, on Facebook it still shows that it's private. So I'm trying to figure that out for my next live stream. So that way, whenever people want to watch it, it just shows up as public instead of private. So I got to figure that out. I've been trying to figure that out forever. So hopefully I can figure that out in the meantime. But thanks for coming in, Vibes. I appreciate it. Henry says in the low boy, I want crabs in it so the tank won't be full of water. Only some parts will have water. So that would be kind of neat. So like you could have like some intersections or certain parts that would be, because I guess like in a relative note, I thought it would always be kind of cool to have a fish tank with like a turtle in it. And it wouldn't have to be like necessarily like a big turtle, but it would have to be like a spot where a turtle can come out and then go down and swim around in. I think that would be kind of cool to have like a water that's halfway up, and then you could have like your small little fish and then your turtle that sits on the rocks and stuff. So I think that would be kind of neat. So it's kind of like maybe what you're saying is you could have like crabs, in it, and then only some parts that have water. So that would be kind of a neat thing to see. George says, if I was a suspicious man, I would think my wife keeps buying things without my knowledge. She wouldn't do that. It's not like I sneak in for all the time. It's not like I sneak in all the time in my fish room. Yeah, you know what? With depending on your work schedule, my work schedule, that would be something I would probably believe too. But I don't know. My wife and I are pretty good with buying things. I don't think there's not a whole lot that goes by that we don't know happens. Most of the time, like I said, with our situation, we sometimes buy stuff and then we kind of forget that it's down here. And then we're like, oh, look, we still have this. And then we realize, oh, we have too much of this now, sort of thing. But I can see where that that would happen. And just randomly things just start collecting and breeding, like you say. So it kind of makes you think a little bit, doesn't it? But that's all right, Garcia. Working and lurking, as the popular phrase goes. But hopefully vibes, you're doing good today. Hopefully you having a good cup of coffee or a donut or something that, because it seems like a lot of your Instagram and stuff, your random live streams are always about going to the next diner and having something to eat. So hopefully you're eating something good for lunch and chilling and having a good day. I still have yet to have lunch. I'll probably be here for another 30 minutes or so. So what I will do, I pretty much got out what I wanted to get out for most of the day today. It was going to be a short stream, probably about an hour, unless I can figure out something else to talk about. And if you guys want to talk about something in the chat, I can try to relate as best as I can. But a lot of the updates and a lot of different things that happens within my channel, I try to get out in the first half hour. So that way, if people want to rewatch, they don't have to watch an entire hour and a half to 2 hours to get all the important information out. As far as what's going on with my situations, my fish room, and all the different movement and stuff. But happy Friday the 13th. I was trying to look for a streaming service that's playing some of those Friday the 13th movies, but I couldn't find any of them that are free because I have Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime. The only way I could watch any of them is if I rented one. I mean, which is fine. It's only going to be a few bucks, but I'll definitely be watching at least one of them tonight. Because like I said, Halloween's my favorite holiday, and it's just one of those things I really enjoy. And I'm probably going to be going to my local haunted house here. My one that's right down the road, I actually used to work at a long time ago, and I worked there for about 8 years, I think. That's how long I was there. And it was one of the funnest jobs I've ever had in my life. So my wife's making a smoothie now. So that's good. At least I'll have something for after my live stream for me, my wife, and Alana all to share, of course. Dennis says, Henry needs a lowboy trailer to take all his fish home when he comes to visit. Yeah, I can't imagine those things being real light. Oh, Vibes, you're probably thinking of this is a comment relating to probably George, because if you bring home a fish tank, and then your wife comes home and she's like, where'd that fish tank come from? Like, I don't remember that being there. It was like, well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Henry says to Dennis, I might need one with all the fish I'm getting. Yep, that is true. You might need something heavy to bring that in. I don't know how much they weigh. I'm sure that George would know all about that, about moving those things. George, I'm wondering if you have to you probably couldn't move that low boy yourself. You probably had to have some help with that, I'd assume, depending on how much they weigh empty. Unless you kept some of the sand and substrate and a little bit of the water level while you're moving it, because that would be that much more work. Because my buddy Tim and I, when we moved my 55s and 40 gallons, we just lowered the water down to the bare minimal so the fish could still be in there. So that way I didn't have to move a bunch of fish around and stuff. But I tell you what, 55 gallons are a lot heavier than what you think they are, especially when you have to lift them on the top shelf with about this much water and substrate in. That was a close one, because that was, but thankfully Thankfully, with Tim's brute strength, we were able to get it on that top shelf, and everything worked out fine. But it was a close one. Yeah, we make smoothies quite often here at the house, especially whenever we want to get our fruits and veggies in. That's our main. If we don't get our fruits and veggies in for the day, especially around dinner time, then that's usually like our alternative for for that. So it's good. But yeah, that's my wife. For anyone who doesn't know, she's coming in saying hi too. So that works well. Appreciate it. Thanks Ash for coming in. One of these days we'll get on a live stream. One of these days. Vibes wants a smoothie. I'm assuming you probably made a dragon fruit smoothie with peanut butter, banana, and everything. That's usually our norm for that one, especially because Alana likes that one a lot too. So, but yep. My mom says hi. So the low boy, it's light empty. That's good to hear. 40 or 50 pounds. So that's actually not too bad. I mean, that's pretty manageable, especially with no water and everything. So that's actually manageable because I can actually move if a 55 gallon has no substrate or water in it, I can generally move it myself, even though it's a little bit on the long side for me to hold myself. Because I've moved 40 gallons myself and I've moved 55 myself empty. Now, as far as just with substrate and a little bit of water in it, I have to have help because otherwise sometimes that water, like I guess buoyancy, you need that extra help so it doesn't go bad or doesn't go in a direction you don't want it to go. But that's cool. That was actually a lot less pounds than I anticipated. I have a chart on my phone that shows like weights of like tanks and stuff, but it's like a general like basis between 10 gallons and I think it goes all the way up to like 125 or something like that, maybe more. But yeah, that's surprising. That's actually not too bad. Henry says P-tank, he means with all the fish that I'm getting when I go fish collecting that I will need a trailer to bring all the fish. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for clearing that up for me. Yeah. Are you estimating a certain amount of fish that you want to get? Or are you just going to go and collect a bunch of fish and then kind of go from there? Yeah. Vibes, we'll hook you up with a smoothie. Next time that we go on live, we'll try to hook you up with a smoothie. How about that? One of these days, I feel like I think one of these days I'd like to meet Vibes in person. I assume at some point I'd like to go to Aquashella. I didn't go to the last one, but that's eventually at some point I would like to go with the family and everything. But I think we need to wait until we're going to do some experiment trips here this summer. So Mom and Dad, we'd like to try to plan a trip to Florida with Alana and bring her on her first airplane trip. And for anyone who doesn't know, Alana's 2 years old. She just turned 2 this past August. We had a good party for her, pool party, food, pizza, and everything like that. Everything went well. So our next kind of test is over the course of the next few months, there'll be time we'll have a good amount of time off. So long story short, we'd like to plan something out for the winter time, in the early winter, to bring Alana out. So in relation to that, Vibes, I was hoping maybe on the next Aquashella, if it's close to me, like near Ohio, or even if it's like a few states away, I'd hopefully like to go to one, and hopefully we can meet up at that point, which would be kind of cool. Henry says that Swivel, Nathan, and Richard are giving some fish on top of all the fish I'm collecting. That's fantastic. That's really cool, man. I mean, it's really nice to see like the fish community talk with each other. I think that's kind of like a benefit of Jesse's channel with the Discord and stuff, that people can kind of connect with each other, and if possible they can exchange phone numbers and kind of work with each other to help each other out and give each other donations or help each other with the community. I think that's a really neat thing. I think that's like some of the technology in today's world is a little bit over the top, and I don't feel like some of it's needed, but I think in other spots, especially with like the YouTube community and stuff, I think some of the technology and stuff like that, there people can communicate with each other. I think that's what really benefits, that's the whole reason why I joined this YouTube community and stuff to begin with too, is just to help each other out. So I think that's a fantastic way for all you guys to connect with each other and help each other out, gain fish and everything. So that's really cool. So Daytona, Aquashella, did they November 2nd and 3rd? Are you going to that one, Vibes? Did they do that last year at Daytona? Because I know the last one was in Chicago, I think, right? So I wonder if that's where I believe that's where it was last time. If it wasn't Daytona, I know it was somewhere in Florida. But if you go visit Vibes in Texas, don't let him pick the barbecue restaurant. Have you been there before? Is it bad? What's your experience at barbecue restaurant? Let me know, George, what you think of that barbecue restaurant, and because maybe this is a side note for you guys, from past experience. Oh, that's fine, Dad. As long as you're able to be safe driving and kind of hang out for a little bit, I appreciate it. Everyone say hi to my dad if you haven't already done so. Seems like my mom's still watching, so she's catching up on the comments and everything too, which is cool. But yeah, I was kind of curious as to maybe I can plan something out for November. We'll see how things go. Maybe I can plan a trip for then. Let me look on my work schedule here. Let's see, September, October, November, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I think is what you said, right? 2nd and 3rd. So I'm actually off on November 2nd and 3rd. So that actually might work. Thank you, Vise, for letting me know about that, because I'm actually off work. Because last year I was not off work, and I was trying to work it out to where I could take some vacation time, and I ended up probably would have had to go by myself, and it just wasn't feasible within my work schedule. So that's why I couldn't go last year. Vibe says Aquashella was in Daytona last year. I'm going to try to go. Okay. Sounds good, man. It's not the barbecue. It's Vibe's choice of restaurant. That's the issue. You don't like barbecue? Or if it's, well, or you say it's not the barbecue. Sorry, let me correct myself. Because I love barbecue food. I mean, anything barbecue. I mean, we always have barbecue at the house. And usually when you go out, you get like some type of barbecue, chicken or barbecued strips or anything like that. But it's a choice of restaurant. So maybe that's a little inside note again that you guys had. But nonetheless, Aqua Expo. Where's the Aqua Expo at, Henry? The one thing that I want to do too is there's the Ohio Cichlid Association. I got to look into that again as well, because I want to try to. I really like doing that whenever Ben Ochart was there, and regardless of who the speaker is. It was kind of a fun experience because it's only about maybe a little over an hour away from me. So, and it was nice that it was local and I could go to something like that. And that was my first experience doing anything with I didn't buy anything, or no, I take that back. I ended up being involved in the fish auction, and stuff, and bought some stuff. I think I still have those, actually, come to think of it. They're in a mixture of my 60-gallon breeder with the, I think the lemon jakes. I'll have to look in my app and see what I got from them now that I think of it. Yep. You and me both, George. I love barbecue. Coral Springs. Okay, Aqua Expo is at Coral Springs. Gotcha. Salient Jesse says, I've learned to not stick my finger in the Oscar tank. Yeah, I can imagine with those big beasts in there, you kind of learn to, after you do it once, you probably never do it again. So I don't blame you there. So, yeah, nice for you to stop in. Jesse, you still at work? Are you on lunch break? I would assume on a Friday lunchtime hour. Like I said earlier, Jesse's more like, in my term of phrase, he's like critiquing his fish room. Because there's always changes to be made, just like George is doing. Like there's stuff that needs to be moved out of the way, a lot of clutter and stuff to make room for new things. So you can have so much more room for activities. But yeah, Henry's wondering how the fishing are. He's wondering how he's liking the fish room. From the live streams and everything that he's done, it seems to be working well from my standpoint. Okay, so you're working in and out, so that's cool. Thanks for stopping by, Jesse. I appreciate it. October, and that was for the. I think that was the expo you were talking about. Yeah, the Aqua Expo. So he's thinking October. No, I did not, Jesse. Is there still time to vote? I been keep meaning to do that, and it just keeps slipping my mind. So I apologize for that. So I'm hoping there's still time to do that, Jesse. Dennis says he's learned to not stick finger in the angelfish tank. They will jump out of the water to bite you. That's pretty crazy. Can angelfish really jump out of the water? Like, do they? I mean, any fish can jump out of the water. That's kind of a dumb thing to say, but I mean, like of all fish, you would think that more or less that like bigger fish would do so, especially if one's more aggressive than the other. But angelfish technically are cichlid, so I guess that makes sense. But that's crazy though, especially when they get bigger. Like I would not expect angelfish to like jump out of the water. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, Henry, I didn't vote either, so I might have to check that out after this live stream here. George says that he got to meet Eddie this spring, but I'm giving him a hard time because he took me to eat at the equivalent of Famous Dave's. I like Famous Dave's. My brother, he loves Famous Dave's. He makes like a special trip out to Sandusky because we're more so near like the Cantonish area, but he makes a special trip every year out to Sandusky to go to Famous Dave's because he absolutely loves that place. But instead of a hole-in-the-wall barbecue spot that Texas is known for. That's hilarious. I like whenever you know about something, I always think I think it's fun to give people a hard time for. So that's fantastic. That's pretty funny. Vibes is still laughing. That's great. Henry says, yes, angelfish will jump out of the aquarium. It's happened to Richard. An angelfish jumped out of the aquarium and went into the tank next to it. That's insane. I don't think I've ever seen a fish do that. But when I was talking to Jim from Happy Place Aquatics last night, and on his live stream, I've had the sulfurhead lithombait. He's jumped out of my tank twice, and thankfully, when I wasn't around at the time, my wife was, and both times that he's tried to jump out of the tank, and it's a good sized fish too, not like huge by any means, but she actually noticed it, and she was hearing like flopping around and stuff. She was able actually to pick it up and put it back in the tank, and it still is alive and thriving to this day. I had to do some adjustments to the little plastic pieces that you put on the back of the glass hoods. So I had to, kind of cut it to size and kind of move it around a little bit to accommodate some of the open space. But I mean, some of the open space, it was very, very small to where I had like a previous filter at, and I thought it'd be okay. And that's where he was jumping out of, which is crazy. So I had to make some adjustments so he wouldn't continue to jump out. But thankfully enough, my wife was there both times on, a long-term like separate occasion, between like a few months here and there. But it's crazy how fish can jump out of tanks. But I've never seen a fish jump out of one tank and into another. Thanks, Slim Tim. Seems like a lot of people are driving right now. I know Marie was driving, my dad's driving, so you're driving. So hopefully you're being safe. I appreciate you listening in on everything and hanging out. Hopefully you have one of those things that you can hold your phone on while you're driving, so you can kind of sort of pay attention, but focus more on the road. Unless you just have like what I do, I just set my phone down on the chair or something like that, or on the seat next to me, I should say. But I appreciate it. Seems like he was planning that for a while. Then that's crazy. I have yet to see an angelfish or any fish jump from one tank to another. But granted, all my tanks I don't think they'd be close enough for that to happen. Like especially down here, because they all have hoods and all that sort of thing. So I would imagine like maybe some of the what's the type of glass that we're on the tip of the tongue. I'm sorry, guys, I can't think of it. Acrylic, right? Acrylic glass. Some of those tanks, that people use, they're left open, with like a lower level water level. So if that's the case, I could see maybe, fish planning to jump out of those if possible. Vibes says, gotta run. Thanks, Joe, for amazing live stream. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks, Vibes. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming in and hanging out for a little bit. I'll probably be on here for a little bit later, for a little bit more, I should say. So thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate it. So yeah, it's angels protecting the baby. So that might be why they were maybe jumping out. What's up, Kevin? Man, I don't think I've seen you on the live stream yet. It's been a while. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a buddy, Kevin. Him and I, back in the day, worked together at KFC in Hartville. So that's how I got to meet him. So yeah, how's it going, my friend? We'll have to go and get coffee someday and catch up on things. But yeah, thanks for coming in. That's awesome. We've been hanging out here for about an hour or so. I wasn't going to have this live stream happen for too much longer, but you made it in, Kevin, so that's awesome. Henry says, you had a crayfish escape the tanks and go into another tank to eat the plants. So these tanks were obviously right next to each other, so he probably saw the food that was over on the other side. He was thinking, no, I'm going over there. I'm taking the risk. It's totally worth it because that plant over there is freaking delicious. Not a whole lot, man. Yeah, just Kevin, if you haven't seen much of my fish stuff happening lately, check out a few of my YouTube videos and hang out on some of my live streams. I try to post my live streams in as much advance as possible, but with my work schedule, it's hard to do it in advance. So I'm trying to get better at that. My last live stream was kind of random, so not a whole lot of people showed up, but it's all good. I'm trying to get better at planning my live streams. So, so that's a smart crayfish, man. That's a very smart crayfish. But that is crazy though. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that happen, even like at my local ponds or anything. Like usually I see crayfish, they're just chilling at the bottom, just hanging out. So how big is your crayfish? Are we talking like a few inches, or we're talking like a pond-sized crayfish? Like, because you had to have some strength and stuff to get up in there and go near the tank. Kevin says, it's been good, brother. Yes, for sure, man. I'll be up for it. I've been off work for a week for some reason. Oh, vertigo. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Well, I hope that you recover from all that. So my next time off, I work 3 nights in a row, Kevin. And then if you're still off, I'm off second half of Monday, and then I'm off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if you're still off work on those next few days, maybe we can get together and meet up or something. You can see Ash. You can meet our daughter, and I think that would be kind of cool to do. So keep that in mind. But coming on this live stream, kind of brings back old memories, doesn't it? You remember those days. But yeah, we'll try to plan something in the future. They are the electric blue crayfish, and they are strong. They are strong crayfish. Well, I believe every bit of that if one goes from another tank or from one tank to another. What's up, Mr. Fishy Tanks? Hello, fishy folks, he says. Is this your first time in on one of my live streams, or have you been in here one other time? I've been trying to keep a list of names, too, at the same time. So if you feel free that you're or feel free to leave your name down if you want. If not, no big deal. If you enjoy the live streams, if you enjoy coming in, then I appreciate it. I try to at least make it known for if people come on a regular basis, we all like to kind of get a chance to know each other and help each other out and have a nice smooth chat throughout the whole entire process. So appreciate you coming in. Says he's been here one other time. My name is John, so I will write you down. Nice to meet you, John. If you were here one other time, it seemed like you enjoyed the time that you had on my live stream, so I appreciate coming back. So welcome back in. So welcome in, John. I added you to my list of names. Not sure how much longer ago, but basically, John, to catch up on everything is this is a Friday the 13th live stream. I had a really cool intro in the beginning of this video. I was thinking about playing it again before I left, just to have everyone else see it. But we've been kind of talking about things that we've learned from our mistakes, and not necessarily like beginning of this video where you saw I was showing some stuff about the fish that have died in my little intro video, but I didn't really want to focus on like the fish deaths per se, but I wanted to focus more on like what we've learned from it and what we continue to do to prevent fish death or anything that you just learn in general. So we've had a few people comment about it and stuff that they've learned they continue to do, or I should say continue not to do. So that way nothing worse happens between the fish keeper or the fish themselves. So that's kind of what we've been doing. I've given a little bit of an update in the first 30 minutes of the live stream of what's been going on at my fish room. So if you want to go back and watch like the first 20, 30 minutes of it, that's kind of like an update of what I've been up to. And then I'll kind of go from there. So feel free to watch a little bit of the replay and make sure to, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe for anyone who hasn't. Kevin says, I've seen a few videos. That's awesome. I'll be up for seeing them fish sometime, man. And yes, it's been a minute. And we can all meet up with your fiance at some stage. Yep, we'll have to figure something out. I'll try to keep in touch with you next week a little bit, Kevin, and we'll try to follow up with each other so we don't forget. And if anything, you can always shoot. We can always. I should probably text you, or you can text me just to kind of remind me, because life gets busy, and it just happens. So I get it. Dennis says he put a Cory in an angel tank, and holy cow, looked like a dogfight uprooting plants every time I had to or uprooting plants. Everything had to remove. You had to remove the Cory. That's crazy. With Cory cats, they're a pretty docile fish. So it's crazy how that angelfish had that reaction to that Cory. But yeah, that's bizarre, man. Every time I've had a Corydoras with my community fish, they mind themselves, and all the other fish have mind themselves. And I got I don't have any angelfish in there, so I don't have much experience with that. So, but all the other community fish, like my mollies, my tetras, my danios, bristlenose pleco, the yo-yos. It's just every fish that I put in there, it's just been phenomenal with the Corys. And I have 2 albinos and 2 other ones. There's 4 of them in there total. So crazy. Crayfish from baby to adult. How many crayfish do you have, Henry? Do you have we're talking 10 to 15, or we're talking 20 to 50, or even more? And how many tanks do you have with crayfish in, if you don't mind me asking? John, you just missed Vibes. Actually, he came in and hung out for a little bit, and then he had to go. But and Jesse, he's working too. George was in here a little bit. I don't know if he still is in now, but he's kind of popped in here and there and comment a little about his fish room and stuff. So that was kind of cool. He said his crayfish are invading Richard's fish room. That's funny. Hey, Jerome, what's going on, my friend? It's been a little bit, but thanks for coming in. You might have popped in on my last live stream for a little bit. It was a little uneventful because it was kind of like a last-minute live stream. But yeah, thanks for coming in, Jerome. I was kind of giving John from My Fish Tank Aquatics, I was kind of giving him an update, so I'll kind of give you an update too. But in a nutshell, if you want to watch the first 20, 30 minutes, it kind of gives you an update of what I've been doing with my fish room. And we've been kind of commenting about things that we've learned from, in the past. And I was kind of giving an example of, how slow you have to really watch your pH. And I think it's nice to see people come in late, because I can kind of get a brief rundown of my experience in a nutshell, that whenever you get fish from a local fish store, it's not a bad idea to ask them, or even have them test their water if they don't know of what their pH is, and then kind of know what your pH is at your house before you put your fish in a tank, that the pH is a huge drastic difference, because that could sometimes stress the fish out too. Because I've noticed that in my personal experience, it's something I've learned from, that I don't like to chase pH per se, but I would kind of like to at least try to, dumb it down, for loss of better terms. It's just to try to bring it down a little bit to acclimate what the fish were in, opposed to what they're being put into. But I do the drop and plop method too, whenever I add fish to my quarantine tank. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I've noticed that whenever I buy certain fish, from certain stores, sometimes they do great. When I buy from the store in Cleveland, with their African cichlids, they're already put in the harder water, as opposed to if I go to another store, they might have theirs through an RO system, and their pH might only be 7.6, as opposed to my water that's naturally hard water, for the most part. It's usually like in the 8 range, give or take. So that might be something that I've noticed, or it actually has been something that I've noticed, that it takes a day or two for fish to even eat anything because they're just trying to get acclimated to the different pH level. So that's something that I've learned. So that's something that I kind of wanted to bring up in this live stream. Did you just call me T-Pag? Henry, are you going to be calling me T-Pag now? He says, Henry says he's easily over 100 crayfish, which is nuts. And I have 10 aquariums with just electric blue crayfish. They breed like crazy. So what are you doing with all these, man? Are you are you planning to sell them or give them away to your local fish store and give them out to people that just want them? 100 of the same color. I bet those things, do you have videos for it, Henry? Because if so, I might have to look into that as well because I'm kind of curious to see all these guys. But that's pretty crazy. You gave Richard 20 breeding size crayfish and I still have too many. That's going to be my situations. If I don't get, like I said before, I'm planning to get like an LLC started within like probably next year. And that's my whole plan, is to sell my fish essentially and get a business started on my end. Now, shipping wise, I don't know. I probably won't, to begin with, but we shall see what happens. Sorry, I got distracted here a little bit. I'm kind of seeing something for the first time. Let me get back with you guys. I might switch the camera around here. So, interesting fact, I have my 40-gallon breeders right now, and I might have just witnessed the first time of, like, if you guys don't know much about African cichlids, but the female, long story short, she'll lay, like the male will breed a sort of pit per se, and the female will put the eggs down in that little pit area. The male will fertilize the eggs, and the female will pick them back in her mouth. So what's crazy that I just saw, and this male is going nuts, but right now what I'm seeing is the male is like circling around the female, kind of protecting her. And what I believe this female is doing right now is, what I'm seeing is she's putting the eggs down right now as we speak. Well, I haven't seen it technically yet, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, is I feel like that's what it's doing, is it's in the beginning process. So that might be kind of neat. If I move the camera around, maybe you guys might be able to see, but I've never seen that happen before. So that's why it's kind of neat to see a different view instead of having my 55 that was up here previously. Now I have these 40 breeders. So it would be kind of neat to watch this happen, live, to see this whole happen. Because I've never actually seen that before. I think my wife has seen it maybe one time, to where the female would put the eggs down and the male would fertilize the eggs and then she'd pick them back up. But I have not been a part of that yet. So, all right, Dennis, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. Hey, what's up, Zen Ginger? Hey, Zen, can you remind me what your name is so I can write you down on my list, if you don't mind? I want to take a guess, but I'm too afraid to. Swiffle, yeah, see you later, man. Thanks for coming in. Let's see. See us Friday, Henry, or coming Saturday. Yep. For all his shrimptastic adventures. Mandy. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate it. My list is getting bigger for everyone that's coming in and names and such. So, my yellowtail cichlids breed in 6.5 pH water. Okay. That's interesting. I know whenever my fish breed the most is whenever I do water changes. And what I do with my water changes is I actually bring the temperature down a few degrees or so to try to initiate that breeding process. So that's kind of something that I do. It looks like the male is really trying, like right now, what I'm looking at is the females are kind of off in the corners right now. but that male is kind of in the center, making that breeding pit. So he's kind of protecting that area. So it makes you wonder if that's kind of what he's doing at this time. He's kind of sifting through the sand a little bit, but I feel like that's kind of like the beginning process of what he's doing. He's not necessarily hurting the females, thankfully, but he's just kind of protecting that spot, so that way the breeding process can begin. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. And that's interesting how you do that with the. Do you now? If you're still here, Dennis, do you have a slow process of bringing that pH down, and then does it go back up? As far as your yellowtail. I'm kind of curious to know about that if you're still here. Let's see. Looks like you guys are talking about your auction and stuff, so that's cool. Yeah, if you're still here, Dennis, I'm kind of curious as how you adjust your pH, to make them breed. Because I haven't had my yellowtail, but they're in the Mbuna tank, and I'm not really planning on removing them. But I want to have. Eventually, at some point, I want to have a breeder tank for Mbunas, and that's kind of my plan. Is I want to move some of my fish out of one of my breeders, and I want to have these out in like grow out tanks. So that was kind of one of the reasons why I decided to move my tanks around and have another open 55 that has nothing in it currently. But that was kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to remove some of these fish out of my breeders so I can have an Mbuna breeder tank. And that's kind of like my whole plan as well. Oh, you said you got your cichlids. I got my cichlids breeding on video. Okay, so I'll check that out on your channel then and go from there. Seen only once. Yeah, one thing that I've only seen once in my life, and I was actually got a video of it, is I have a short, and it's called the cichlid fry operation. I think it was what I called it, but it's kind of shows the different. I've showed this short to like people so many times. There are people I talk to from work, from people that just come to the house and stuff, and people that I just talk to at stores, and the people that know a lot about African cichlids. But I've only seen one time in my life to where the female actually releases the babies out of its mouth. I've always wanted to, and I've literally sat in front of a tank for like 20, 30 minutes, several times, and it never happens because it almost looks like because her mouth is so big. But I've only seen it one time in my life, so which is really a neat thing to see. Swiffle, or Henry, you know about my incident with my yellowtail. That was the worst thing that probably has ever happened to me in the fish hobby, is losing all my ACI yellowtail. And that's what got me to move all my heaters in my fish tanks. And that's why my drum is temperature acclimated right now. So no more heaters. Eduardo, I'm still doing the breeding process. I still like it and I still enjoy it. But like I was saying earlier, if I ever decide not to do it, then I would probably get rid of it. Like if it ever becomes too overwhelming for me, I want to stick with just the hobby itself. We'll kind of see how my LLC goes, when I start doing that, and seeing how the fish selling goes and if I get anywhere with it. So it's going to be like a test run for me. So if I decide not to do it and it doesn't work out, then that's when I move in the direction of getting rid of the smaller tanks and not doing the breeding process, and I'll deal with just the big tanks. So we'll see how it goes. Used to breed. No, not. Okay, I get you. I got you. Typing is not her foreplay lately. Yeah, you like to blame Mary, don't you? That's funny. So you naturally low pH. Okay, well, that's good. It's probably better that way too, for naturally lower the pH as opposed to doing it, manually on yourself. So that's probably definitely a lot better way to do it. 6.6 pH out of tap. Okay. Yeah. See, my tap water, like I said, it's whenever I get tested, it's like it's usually like 7.8 to almost 8. So that's kind of another reason why I chose African cichlids too. And not that my community fish don't do well in it, because they're acclimated to the higher pH, but it's just because of the fact that that's just why I chose it, because of the higher pHs coming out of my tap. But yeah. Mary's always at fault. Why? Because she's in the UK and can't hurt me. pH. What is pH, you ask? pH it's not photosynthesis. It is a measure of how acidic or basic water is. We can go range anywhere from 0 to 14, 7 being neutral. pH of less than 7. It's like how acidic the water is, basically. It has to do with relative amount of free hydrogen and hydroxyl ions in the water, if that makes sense. But yeah, the pH in a nutshell is a scale of measure of how acidic or how alkaline or the substance of the water is, per se. And it's just a scale range. So that's what pH is, in case you didn't know. If that was a serious question. If not, then we learned something today. I'll be calling bingo tomorrow, so be there. I'll hold all the women's puddings. I keep wanting to do bingo, but every time it kind of interrupts my schedule, and I can never stay in the bingo games for a long period of time. I usually can stay in for like maybe one game, but it's either work or a life schedule kind of, takes me away from it. But it's good to see everyone in chat and hang out for a little bit. I do have to let you guys go. It's been a little bit over an hour, and that's about all the time I have. So thank you, Mandy, for coming in for a little bit, and thank you everyone else for coming in. Mom and Dad, if you're still here, thanks for coming in. Ash, if you're still watching, thanks for coming in, and everybody else. I appreciate it. Henry, you said your pH is 8.4 after food becomes 7.5. Okay, but yeah. Zenny. Lori won the week by 40 points. That's crazy. I'm hoping to get in the next bingo game, for a little bit longer, but we will have to see. But I will leave you guys with that. I have some stuff I got to do. I got to take a nap before going to work tonight. I got to eat some lunch. I want to hang out with the family for a little bit longer before I go to work today. So anyways, Kevin, if you're still in here, thanks for coming in. We'll catch up here in the next couple of days. And then if there's anything else, you guys feel free to leave it in the comments down below. This has been a very successful live stream. And I'm happy for you guys to be here. Like, subscribe, comment, share my YouTube channel as best you can. I'm hoping to make it to that next milestone to try to get to that more watch hours and subscribers. So I appreciate everyone coming in. And I will leave you with this outro. So you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Relax. Enjoy your fish. Enjoy everything. And have a good one.